Well, hello, everybody. You know, we owe this beautiful weather to Jim Jackson. He ordered it because I forgot to order it. I was busy with my speech. Hello to everybody on Zoom and everybody else listening later on. As you already heard, the title is Planting the Seeds of Intention. As I was looking at the word intention, I suddenly realized it has two words in it, in and tent. So I ask you to imagine that in your heart there is a tent where your intentions live. It's the inner sanctuary. And I looked at words within that start with in. Intuition, inspiration, insight, innovation, integrity, and intention. These are all things that come from within. And intention is not something out there, it's something that comes up out of the tent of our hearts. I looked up the definition of intention. It's a big word. We all seem to know what it means, but I wanted to know, what does Webster Dictionary say about intention? An intention is an idea you plan to carry out, whether you pull it off or not. Who has experienced or not? I was thinking that a synonym for intention is wishful thinking. Do you want to hear the definition that Mr. Webster has for us? Wishful thinking is a tendency to believe that something is true or will happen because you want it to, with no evidence or likelihood of it being true. Have you had that ever in your life? Wishful thinking? Wouldn't it be nice? Wishful thinking always starts with that, wouldn't it be lovely? Wouldn't it be great to have money? Wouldn't it be lovely to be in a nurturing relationship? Wouldn't it be delightful to be healthy and have energy? I think I'll have a hamburger and a beer. With no evidence or likelihood of it being true. We can easily mix up intention with wishful thinking. And wishful thinking will take us nowhere except to the next phase of wishful thinking. Now, there's another word that could be a synonym for intention, and that's expectation. Now, notice that the word expectation starts with X, which means external. When I was a very, very freshly hatched therapist, I was invited on a talk show on television, and people could ask questions to my teacher and my freshly hatched therapist self. And a woman said, how can hypnotherapy help me with Thanksgiving? What do you mean? She said, every year I expect to have a wonderful Thanksgiving at the house of my son, and every year it's horrible. How can you help me? And my teacher said, Brigitte will answer that. That was the test by fire. And that's where I suddenly realized that the mistake she made is to have an expectation that the external circumstances would be delivered to her. Her son was responsible for her happy Thanksgiving. And I said, hypnotherapy could help you by going deep inside and discover you could shift from expecting things to intending things. And my teacher went, wow, well, that was cool. And so I realized that when we have expectations of somebody to change, whether you're freshly married, you two, or in a long relationship, you two, it's so easy to expect the other person to accommodate our desires. It often doesn't work. I'm not going to say always, because I don't want you to give up hope. But what really works is intention. It is my intention to have a peaceful, nurturing, loving relationship with my George. So I bring that to the table, not expecting him to do anything. And as if magic, he responds to that. My intention brings the energy to which George can respond. So I tell you what an expectation is, according to Webster. It's a strong belief that something will happen or be the case in the future. And sometimes it isn't. Our expectations often remain sadly unfulfilled. Our intentions, however, have a lot of power. And so what is an intention? An intention is the fuel to reach a goal. It's not the goal itself. And so I want to give you an illustration. For those of you here, let's use Willits. Let's picture your intention to drive to Willits. And for those of you on Zoom and later on, pick a town or a village an hour away from you. And it's evening, the sun has gone down, and you're planning to drive to Willits. You can't see further than the headlights, but you know Willits is out there. So what keeps you going? What keeps you not turning to Elk? The intention to go to Willits. The intention is the fuel that promotes action. So as you're driving along and you suddenly see a campfire and people are singing, if your intention is not strong to go to Willits, you're going to park and say, hey, can I join you guys? You're doing marshmallows. I want to be part of that. If the intention is weak, you're not going to get to Willits. Can we agree on that? Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's the fuel. So George, who's so wonderful, made me a list of reasons why intentions fail. Number one, we don't know how to set them. You know, we go into wishful thinking. Wouldn't it be lovely? That's not an intention. So the title is Planting the Seeds of Intention. How many gardeners do we have here? Who has ever planted anything? Yeah. So let's say you want cabbages in your garden. Would you plant carrot seeds?
Right next to the cabbages.
Right next to the cabbages. Very good. We need to know what we're planting. We have to be clear. If you want cabbages or carrots, choose those seeds. Don't plant anything else. Also, as a gardener, if you planted those seeds successfully, the weather is beautiful, it's all going well, will you walk away and let it be and come back in 6 months to see if you have a cabbage? No, you have to tend it. There are the slugs saying, we'll have some cabbage. It needs watering. It probably needs weeding. So just like the cabbage will not do its thing unaided, our intention will not come to fruition unaided. And here are some of the reasons why our intentions fail. One reason is apathy. I know it would be lovely to be financially independent, but I'm going to go on a spending spree right now. Or, yeah, it'd be lovely to let those pounds go, but I feel like cookies. Apathy is that feeling of, oh, it's a bit too much. too much is asked here. I'm not willing to invest that. Another one is rebellion. What if you are completely clear about what you want, but a part of you says, I'm not on board. I met a young man, he wanted love more than anything else. He said, I just want to be loved. I just want to love somebody. So he manifested that. And within 2 weeks, he said, God, I can't stand the closeness. Ugh. Ugh, it's horrible. I mean, it's good at night, but during the day, please. So he sent her packing. And shortly after that, he went, I'm so lonely. I want love. I want love. And he was a beautiful boy, so he got her back. And 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later, he said, I can't stand being smothered. So if not everybody is on board with your intention, if you have a rebel with an opposing desire, it'll sabotage your intention. Can you relate, anybody? I had a client who was very overweight and she wanted to lose weight and her doctor said, you have to lose weight. And she couldn't. So in hypnotherapy, we found out that she believed as long as she was heavy, she was unattractive and therefore would no longer be raped, which happened to her when she wasn't heavy. So sometimes we have protective mechanisms that say, no, 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 you don't want to lose weight. No, 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 you don't want the relationship. You don't want to be wealthy. You don't want to go to Willits. Another one is the pleasure trap. The pleasure trap is a hardwired part of our brain. It goes back millions of years that has 3 principles. Always seek pleasure. Always avoid pain. And always preserve energy. Can you see how the pleasure trap would be influential in your life? So let's say, for example, I want to have a wonderful dinner. Having to go to the farmer's market and buy carrots that still have the dirt on them, go home, wash them, chop them up, steam them, make a sauce. That's a lot of pain and a lot of energy. And I'm hungry, so I want it now. I'm pleasure seeking. And there is McDonald's. So we always look for the shortcut for the pleasure and for spending as little energy as possible. Does that make sense to you? Yeah. So you might have the most wonderful intention and the pleasure trap will sabotage you. We'll say, no, that's not what we're going to do. Another one on George's list is our short attention span. I know for myself, sometimes I'm gung-ho. Oh my God, I know exactly what I'm going to do. And then I forget. I gave up coffee. And then one day I was somewhere and they had coffee and I forgot that I gave up coffee. I just forgot. And here I am drinking my coffee saying, what's wrong with this picture? I'm not doing caffeine. Well, now we are. Last Thanksgiving, George and I are vegans. We are whole plant-based. We went to a friend's house for Thanksgiving and they know we don't eat turkey. They know that, so they had a little turkey. And when I saw the turkey, I went, oh, turkey, what a good idea. And so I had me a big helping of turkey and it was so delicious. I had another one and then I had another one. I had 3 helpings of turkey while my vegan was in the trunk of the car, gagged and bound. Vegans. No, we're not right now. I had a very short attention span. It's called ISM, incredibly short memory. That's what ISM stands for. I want to give you an illustration of an intention that panned out perfectly. And this is a shout out to our Reverend Eileen, who said, I want to move upstairs. I want to have a new space with windows. And I don't want the people from Fort Bragg having to travel every Sunday down to Mendocino. And this space opened up upstairs in the company store. And we went through that ringer. I say we because I'm part of the board. There was a yes, and there was a no, then there was a maybe, and there was a yes again. And she never wavered in her conviction and in her intention. We're moving upstairs. And I have wonderful news for everyone here. This morning, before everybody arrived, Davy and I signed the lease. Thank you, Eileen, for knowing what you want and how to get it. You know, sometimes there's stumbling blocks along the road for our intentions. And so I ask you to take a moment. Maybe you want to close your eyes and get really comfortable, uncross anything, and ask yourself in the privacy of your own heart, what is your intention right now? What do you intend for your life? And remember, it's an intention for you. You can't change the president. It's an intention for you. What is your heart's desire? And allow yourself to see the outcome. If that intention comes to fruition, what does that look like for you? And as you are picturing this outcome, this beautiful result of your intention, I invite you to listen to any opposition, any internal opposition. A voice that says something like, this is never going to happen, not for you, or I don't want that. I don't want to stop drinking. I don't want to have a budget. I don't want to eat healthy. Listen for opposition. And when you hear that voice of opposition, thank it for speaking to you. It is better to know what's opposing your intention now than when you are in full gear and it trips you up. Allow yourself to know that in order for your intention to come true, you need support. When I am alone with my intention, I'm not in very good company. And I invite you to imagine that there are people who have the same intention. Your tribe, your people who support and want what it is that you intend. When we walk hand in hand and heart to heart, things become easy. When we do it alone, with this fierce self-reliance, it's difficult. So when you're ready, take a couple of deep breaths and come back, knowing what your intention is for you. and hold on to that. And after our celebration, share that with somebody. We need witnesses to our intentions. I want to tell you a story. George is a teacher. I am a storyteller. And I'm going to tell you a story of an intention of mine that came true in Switzerland. One of my last visits to Switzerland when my father was still alive, he and I and his housekeeper, Renata, decided to visit a renowned healer who lived 4 hours drive away from my father's home in the Italian part of Switzerland. The reason I'm giving you some geographics here is not to bore you, but it's part and it's pivotal to my story. In order to go to the German part in the north, we had to cross under the Gotthard. You may or may not know that, but the Gotthard has the longest tunnel in the whole world. And I Googled it for you. It's 35.5 miles long. Yeah. Now, the Gotthard Tunnel has an amazing way to maintain itself. At 9 o'clock in the evening, they close it at both ends for maintenance and for repairs. So off we go through the Gotthard Tunnel. We go to our wonderful encounter with this healer. It's an amazing event. And it takes so much longer than we thought it would. And we come out at 7 o'clock in the evening, and it's more than a 2 hours drive to the Gotthard. The moment we're in the car, a storm breaks loose. It is such fierce rain that the windshield wipers are literally flopping helplessly. And my father asks me to drive because he has trouble seeing at night. So I'm at the steering wheel and I said, let's make it in time to the Gotthard Tunnel. And my father said, we can't, Brigitte, we can't. Too many miles, not enough time. In this weather, this horrific traffic, it's not going to work. I suddenly felt inspired. What if it could work? So I said, you know, on the surface, it looks like it's not going to work. And so I need your participation because I have an intention. And let me see if you intend the same thing. Would you prefer to spend the night in a hotel, which is expensive? Or would you prefer to spend the coming night in your own comfy bed? What's your preference? What's your intention? And Renata said from the back seat, I didn't bring my meds or a toothbrush. I want to be in my own bed. And my father said, I didn't bring the charger for my hearing aids. I want to go home. And I said, and I want to go home because I want a miracle. So we're driving through this horrific storm. The lightning is so fierce, sometimes the car feels like it's jumping. The traffic is thick. We're getting nowhere. And my father says, yeah, you know what, this isn't going to work. I said, okay, you just canceled my order. My order is we're going to be in the Gotthard Tunnel at 9 o'clock. So every time you say it's not going to work, don't be silly. You know, there are certain laws that you cannot bend. You are influencing what I'm doing, and we are all on board. You all want to be in your own beds tonight, yes or no? Yes. I said, okay, so here's your job. I said to my father, who used to be an accordion player, I said, Papa, I'm going to give you a job. I want you to imagine an accordion. And every time you pull it open, you stretch the minutes. And every time you close it, you scrunchel the miles. I can't look at him because I have to drive. I'm looking on traffic, but I can see his eyes going, oh, Jesus. These Americans. Oh, yeah. Renata in the back seat, I said, I have a job for you. Should you choose to accept it? You pray for safe passage, so we will not receive or do damage to anyone or anything. Renata is on board. She is praying. She is invoking the traffic angels and God himself to take care of this passage. My father is playing the accordion, stretching the minutes, reducing the miles. He turns on the radio because that's a good thing to do in a big storm. And here comes the clincher. There is an announcement, an emergency announcement, that the road 20 minutes from the Gotthard Tunnel, the only road going there, is closed indefinitely. And my father says, there you have it. I said, I have nothing. I'm going to open that road. If he had been a Catholic, he would have crossed himself. What kind of a daughter is this? I said, look, your job is not to judge. Your job is just to play the accordion. You keep praying, and I know we're going to be in the Gotthard Tunnel at 9 o'clock. A little voice inside said, are you nuts? The second announcement came. Traffic, turn back, you can't pass, the road is closed indefinitely. I'm going, I'm going to look like such a fool. And my papa is going to say, I knew it. He's good at that. But there was this conviction that this could be done. So we drive through the storm, lightning, water coming down in barrels. We get to the place where the road is closed. And my father says, you have to turn back. All the flashing signs on the road say, turn back, road closed. I just keep driving. By now, I'm the only car. I'm not making this up. There's nobody ahead of us. They all turned. All the people behind us turned. My father is starting to scratch his head. I said, look, I make you a deal. If it doesn't work, I pay for the hotel. Now they're happy. You've got to give them a little sugar sometimes. We drive up to the place where all the cones are that are blocking the road. And there are the guys working on the road in their big yellow rain slickers dripping. And they start taking the cones away and opening one lane. I was elegant enough not to say there. And I drove through this one lane up to the Gotthard Tunnel. I was the only car in the Gotthard Tunnel going south. Everybody had turned back. And as we entered the Gotthard Tunnel, I said to my father, what time is it? And he tapped his watch and he listened to his watch because the watch must have gone nuts. It was 8:45. Why am I telling you this story? Am I showing off? Yes, absolutely. But I tell you why I'm telling you. Ernest Holmes, the founder of our teaching, says, I do not like students who can recite verse and chapter of the book. Show me your demonstrations. Show me that you know how to work this. This is what I'm doing right now. I'm showing you how it works, even if you have obstacles that seem insurmountable, like a closed road in Switzerland.
Yeah.
Yeah. As we drove through the tunnel, all alone, a couple of cars coming from the south, but we are the only car in the entire tunnel. I said to my father, I have one more job for you too, Renate and you. Would you like to break out in wild applause? And they did. And we just drove back to the Italian part and everybody slept in their beds and everybody was happy. And my father the next morning said, what the fuck was that? I was offended by the word. I said, I tell you what that was. That was science of mind in action. That was an intention held unwaveringly.
Yeah.
My father ordered the book in German. So there you have it in a coconut shell. Your intentions are spoken from the heart. They're not manufactured by your ego or by your brain. These are your heart's desire. They're yours to manifest into full blooming. Reverend Ruth is going to talk next Sunday about the blooming of our intentions. I'm talking about planting the intentions. So I invite you to know that it's up to you. And ask for help. Go to the practitioner and say, know this for me. You notice when I did the meditation this morning, I say, what can I know with and for you? And why is that important? Because we have internal opposition. George put it this way, he says, if somebody is ill, they're so caught in their illness and the symptoms and the suggestions in the medical establishment, it takes somebody on the outside who actually can see the health and kind of do a bypass into the healthy state. Let's walk with each other. Let's support each other. Let's know for each other that we have the power, the birthright to design our lives. Whatever is lacking right now or seems to be lacking, whatever is not to your highest definition of good, make an intention to shift that and allow yourself to know that it will come true. I want to also, in closing, talk about God. We lost a couple of people 2 weeks ago because they hated the word God. And they said to me, we thought this was a spiritual center with spirit rather than God. And there was too much God and they had to leave because they couldn't stand it. And so I was asking my higher power for the perfect metaphor for this God issue. And I'm going to give you a few names for God. One is higher power, divine love, universal intelligence, Heavenly Father, Great Spirit, Manitou, Father, Mother, God. And Ernest Holmes calls the spirit that is breathing us and has brought us here this morning, the thing itself. Although this is technically true, it's not very fuzzy, is it? The thing itself. So I'm going to give you my favorite. It's also by a minister. Her name is Helen Street, and she had the Center for Spiritual Living in Honolulu. And this is who she called God, the big sweetie. That's a little warmer, don't you think? She said, there's a big sweetie and we're the little sweeties. So I love that. So I noticed that if we don't use the right word, people, it's not a Heavenly Father because I wanted to be a mother. Okay. It can't be the thing itself because I'm not quite acquainted with that term. So I asked God for a metaphor, and God said, look at all the names for water. We call it water. The Spanish call it agua. The Italians call it aqua. Can you see them arguing? Is it aqua or agua? The Germans call it Wasser. The French call it eau. In Urdu, it's pani. In Japanese, it is misu. In Chinese, it's shui. In Arabic, it's ma. In Turkish, it's su. And in Persian, it's ab. Imagine a Persian sitting at the table very thirsty, and I bring him a glass of water, and he will not drink it because it's not ab. Imagine a Chinese sitting at the table next to the Persian, and A Pakistani brings him a glass of pani, and he will not drink it because it's not chewy. Do you want me to do the whole list? Did you get it? There is one God by 1,000 names, and we refuse to call on it unless it has the right name. I love that arrogance that we know the right name. So I like to end by saying, call it what you like, but do call it. Thank you.